11.3 is probability distributions. Let's start with a pair of vocabulary terms. So data can either be discrete or continuous. I'm going to draw a number line to help explain the difference. All right, so discrete data can only fall at fixed locations. So if a value can only fall here on a number line or here, but not in between those two dots or those few dots, that is discrete data. So it always goes up by some fixed amount. Now, not all the time, but usually, discrete data is found by counting how many there are of something. Continuous data does not have to go up by some fixed amount. So continuous data, that's data that can fall anywhere within a reasonable range. It's important that I say within a reasonable range. So you should not be thinking continuous means it can be anything. So take, for example, the weight of a person. So could that go up by some ugly decimal? It doesn't have to go up by 1 pound every single time. It could go up by 0.1 of a pound or 0.01 of a pound. However, the weight cannot be like 5,000 pounds. So there is a reasonable limit. So continuous can fall anywhere in a reasonable range. Usually, these values are found by measuring. And note that I said usually for both. An exception that I can think of is shoe size. So shoe sizes always go up by half. The store doesn't sell like a 10 3/4 shoe size. However, you don't count your shoe size. Now, the length of your foot, that is continuous. So you could measure that, but then to figure out your shoe size, you measure your foot, and then you figure out numbers that are multiples of 1/2 close to that measurement. All right, in the first 4 examples, I crossed out something in the directions. Identifying the random variable, that would just be repeating the words in the problem back to me. So I don't think it's a good use of our time to have to do that. All right, so we're going to identify it as discrete or continuous and explain. All right, so for number 1, the number of strikes thrown by a pitcher. That definitely has to be a whole number, so it's discrete. A pitcher cannot throw a decimal of a strike. So that's discrete, and the reason is it must be a whole number. All right, the mass of a cell, that is continuous. That could go up. That could go up by some decimal amount. So continuous. This can fall anywhere in a reasonable range. Not sure what the units are to measure the mass of a cell, but could it go up by 0.004 of that measure? I'm sure it could, if the mass or if the cell got a little bigger. All right, the number of chapters in a book. So I think this is discrete as well. Even if you have a short chapter, that does still count as a whole chapter. So this must also be a whole number. What if you only read a few pages of the chapter? Is that a decimal of a chapter that you read? I suppose, but it doesn't say the number of chapters that you read. It says the number of chapters in the book. All right, for the next one, they don't really clarify what kind of chips these are. To make this easier, I'm going to say that they're poker chips. So if they were potato chips, then I would get the argument about, well, what do we do about the broken chips and the crumbs? So if they're poker chips, then it has to be discrete. So kind of going back to when we talked about biased and unbiased, for some of these, like number 4, I would probably take both answers as long as your explanation was good. Now, if I change it to poker chips, then I think it's pretty clearly discrete. So you don't always have to say must be a whole number. You could say always goes up by 1/2 if it's shoe size. You could say does not fall anywhere in a reasonable range. All right, I'm going to show you 2 ways to find the expected value. So the long way is expected value just means average. So the way you could find the average is you take the value and you multiply by the frequency. Then you take the next value, multiply by the frequency, and you do this for every single value. All right, that's the long way to do it, and we'll find the answer later. So a better way to do it is put all of these numbers in L1 of your calculator, and then put the frequencies in L2. Then you go to Stat, Calc, 1var Stats. So again, you go to Stat, then you hit the arrow to the right to go to Calc, and then the first option under Calc is 1 variable Stats. Right, for list, you're going to put L1, and for frequency list, you're going to put L2. So type second 2 to type L2. And if you need to type L1 for the first item, you hit second 1, that types L1. So list is L1, frequency list is L2, hit calculate, and then the mean is this symbol, X bar. And because it's money, I'm going to write it as 9.90 with the $sign. All right, so again, you could do drawing 2 both ways. I'm going to do only the calculator way, so I'll put these in L3, and I'll put those in L4. All right, so again, we go to Stat, Calc, 1var Stats, and this time the average is $9.75. So I did Stat, Calc, 1var Stats, and I told the calculator my list was L3 and my frequency was L4 this time. All right, which one would we recommend for Sarah? Well, one thing that we didn't talk about, it costs $10 to play one of these games. So I honestly would not recommend either one, because on average, she'll be losing money. So if she could just play this game all day, in the long run, she would average less than $10 each time she paid $10 to play. So in the long run, you would lose money. So I guess I'll say, if she must play one, I would recommend drawing one. So the key to gambling is you want to choose the option that gives you a positive expected value or a higher expected value. Both of these have a negative expected value. So if you factor in the $10 price to pay, the expected value for the first one is actually negative 10 cents, and the expected value for the second one is actually negative 25 cents if you consider the $10. So if she has to play, she should play the one with the higher expected value, which is drawing one. But if it's an option not to play, that would be the better option. On number 6, we have another game. All right, so someone gets to pick a prize out of a hat that has a bunch of different slips with different prize values. So first thing they want us to do is complete the relative frequency table. All right, so relative frequency just means instead of counting how many of something there are, you have to calculate the proportion of how many there are. All right, and they help us out by telling us that there are 500 pieces, so we don't have to find the total on our own. We know the total is 500. So you're gonna take all the frequency numbers and just divide them by 500. So 250 divided by 500, that's 0.5. 125 divided by 500 is 0.25. 60 divided by 500 is 0.12. 30 out of 500 is 0.06. And we have 0.04. 12 out of 500 is 0.024. Then we have 0.004 and 0.002. All right, and now they want us to graph the theoretical probability distribution. All right, so that's kind of like a histogram and bar graph, kind of a mix of the two. So we make our graph like this. And there's a lot of prize values, so I'm going to go out kind of far. So on the x-axis, you're going to put all of the prize dollar amounts. Right, on the y-axis, even though the highest probability is 1, in our table, the highest probability we have is 0.5. So don't go all the way to 1. Don't leave wasted space. So now you're just going to make bars. Try to make all your bars the same width. For the last few bars, it's really hard to make them to scale. Right, and don't forget to label your axes. On the x-axis, we have the prize values. And on the y-axis, don't write frequency because it's probability. So this is the probability of each X amount. And then for the last part, we did this in 11.2. You're gonna put the prize amounts in L1, and then it doesn't matter which of these you use for frequency. So I'm just going to put the frequencies in L2. So then I don't have to deal with the decimals. All right, so put those in L1 and L2. Then again, go to Stat, Calc, 1 var stats. All right, so make sure you put L1 for your list and L2 for your frequency list. All right, so if you do that, your calculator tells you that the mean is $460, which is also called the expected value. And then in 11.2, I told you guys when to use SX and when to use sigma X. So because this is not a sample, we're not going to use SX, we're going to use sigma X. And so the population standard deviation is $1,513.98. And then one more quick thing, if you put the probabilities in L2, they don't even show you SX because they know it's not a sample. All right, that's it for lesson 11.3.